Assalamu alaikum, strong believers. This is Malik Pai, and hopefully you are staying strong, because strong believer is better than a weak believer. Today we'll be talking about major and minor sins. And in fact, did you know that in Islam there is a concept of 7 deadly sins? Not the movie, not the one that Bible talks about or the Christianity belief, but Islam also have its own version of 7 deadly sins. But they are not the only major sins. There's others as well. Stay tuned. If this is the first time you came here, and if you haven't subscribed, make sure you click subscribe button. Don't forget to hit the bell icon so you will be getting notification of future videos. Alright, welcome back. Let's talk about sins. In our previous sessions, we talked about Iman, right? Like the belief. And we also said that your belief goes up and down. It's something that is, part of your heart, part of your belief, and it goes up and down depending on how good you do or how bad you do. Of course, the more good deeds that you'll do, it shows that you have strength in your faith. You love Allah, you fear Him, and you have hope of His reward. So you're doing good things, and also you are cautious about doing bad things, such as which we'll be talking about, such as those sins, those bad things that we don't want to be doing. And just think about it, living in a country, right? Like you want to make sure that you do those things that you're supposed to be doing, such as not breaking the law, paying your taxes, driving at speed limit, and so on. Those are, you're following the law. But then and if you break those laws, let's say you call those sins. Some sins are bigger than others. Some laws that we break are a lot bigger than others. And same thing with the good deeds. You can go out of your way besides your job and your daily life. There's some things that you have to do, but there's things that you can do beyond your basic minimum requirement. Volunteer in your local schools and your local community and so on. You don't have to do it as a law of the country, but you are encouraged to do those. So same thing in Islam. When we talk about sins, we're not going to be talking about deeds, but we're mainly talking about sinning, doing bad things, something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't like. What are the categories? And of course, some of them are major. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us in the general meaning of the verse is that if you avoid the kabair, if you avoid the major sins, Allah will forgive the minor ones. So let's talk about what those major sins are, and then we'll talk about major and minor sins, what qualifies as a major, what qualifies as a minor. One of them, of course, one of the hadith, the saying of Prophet Muhammad ﷺ is about the deadly sins. So He says that there are 7 deadly ones. What are those? Number 1, shirk. Shirk, we already had a whole video on talking about what shirk is. If you haven't watched it, make sure that you go to the Malik Pai's channel and check out the video that has been done on shirk. The topic about shirk, we go into detail, but shirk is something you are associating partners in the worship of Allah. That is a deadly sin. Number 2, evil magic. Now I'm talking about not the magic that take out a bunny out of a hat or so. That's not the magic that I'm talking about, or not the tricks, but the magic that you're invoking or you're asking devils to help you out to do some evil deeds, evil acts in this life. And because again, they live in this parallel world, and you're calling them to do different actions. And in order to do those, you have to go through some of the rituals that are totally against Islam. It's the knowledge of unseen. More on that later, but evil magic is one of the 7 deadly sins. Then killing an innocent life. As a Muslim, we're supposed to be making sure that everyone around us, Muslim or not, we are supposed to be protecting them, making sure that they're safe. In fact, Iman, we talk about Iman. Iman actually is like if you look at the Arabic word, it's actually talking about protecting yourself. And of course, you have Iman, the stronger Iman, you're protecting yourself from the evil that's around us. And of course, your faith is strong. But just as a believer, you're supposed to be protecting physically as well other people, not just killing somebody, especially an innocent one. That's what we're talking about. Not accidentally you got into an accident and somebody died. That's not a major sin. But we're talking you purposely went and killed someone, and that is considered a major sin. Dealing with interest. Okay, riba, interest. You can call it whatever fancy words you want, usury, riba, interest. Interest is what we use, but it's basically saying that, and it's something very widely spread. And for the students who are watching, I strongly urge you, because it's just becoming part of our culture, that let's say, oh, I have to finish my school, then start saving up, start hustling, start working. Alhamdulillah, myself, I worked one semester, saved up, paid my next semester. So by the time I'm done my school, when I graduated from university, debt free, alhamdulillah. So no loans were taken and so on. So same thing when you are borrowing money from someone. Let's say they give you $50,000 for your medical degree or so on, and then you say, yep, after I'm gonna give you 50, but you have to give me 60 in return. Oh, and by the way, longer you take to pay me, the more you're gonna have to pay me. That 50, you can end up paying $100,000. Riba is destroying our economy. Interest, in fact, that's how our economy is literally based. Rich gets richer, poor gets poor, and it is one of the deadly sins. Won't go into too much detail into this. This is something that, and it's not just for students, for the parents out there who, maybe their best friend, at the mosque ends up buying a house. Oh, we have to compete now. Let's get a mortgage of $600,000-700,000. You living in California could be $1 or $2 million for a small house, but we have to compete with them. We can't be living in an apartment. We have to upgrade our lifestyle, even if it causes us to take this deadly sin. Let's do it. There's ways of avoiding it. Go rent, go hustle, go make more money. Start a business, do other things, but stay away from this dealing with interest. We'll talk about that. But eating the property of orphans. You're taking care of an orphan. And Islamically, it's like you're eating the fire inside your bellies if you're eating. So let's say some parents die, they leave orphans behind. You take care of them. The property comes under these kids' name, but you start using it, right? Unless you're very poor and you need that money in order to support these kids, sure. But you're wasting their money. That's actually considered a major deadly sin. Fleeing from battlefield. Okay, so imagine so that shows strong believers, guys. You have to show Islam is strong. Don't always act like why is all people always running after Muslims, and people are oppressing us, and you all boo-hoo, right? Always Muslims have this attitude of just being always being the basically a baby, right? Like that's the type of way we say that, man, we're being oppressed, and yes, we are, but show some strength, right? When you're in the battlefield, even as a strong army, I'm sure there's laws related to it, but imagine, in general rule is you're in the army, and yes, you're gonna have this fear. Don't flee in the battle. Show strength, because you turn around your back, you're showing that you are weak, and you can have a bunch of excuses. Well, I couldn't beat them and so on. No. Show Islam as a strength, not as a weakness. So fleeing from battlefield is a major sin. Speaking evil of a chaste woman. There's a woman, and you start describing her body, and then start describing her in a indecent way, and start saying that she did these bad things with some other men and so on, had bad illegitimate relationship with others. That is also the respect of a woman is very high in Islam, and we should not take it lightly. And so slandering a chaste woman is also considered a major sin. Now you might be wondering, well, what about drinking alcohol, gambling, zina, right? Fornication and adultery. Those are also major sins. These are 7 deadly sins, but you can't say that they're not others, right? Because for example, Prophet ﷺ tells us that there's 10 people who will be granted Jannah, and he's telling about these Sahabas. These 10 Sahabas will be granted Jannah no matter what. They're guaranteed Jannah. But that doesn't mean there's only those 10. There's others as well. So just because these are 7 deadly sins doesn't mean that there's not others. There's others as well. So what's the basic ruling? A basic general ruling is that anywhere, in Quran or Sunnah, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has said that this action, a sin, that he's warning against it. Okay, he's basically giving you a punishment, or his anger, or his wrath, and so on. Hellfire is mentioned, and things like that. Anything that those type of strong words are used, then it is considered a major sin. Anything else is considered a minor sin. So, for example, I'll give you an example. When it comes to so I'm not gonna try to keep things all basic. A lot of times people might say this is too harsh, but I'll give it anyways. That we know that if you steal, in Islam, you're supposed to cut the hands off. Okay, whether you like it or not, that's the ruling, and maybe we can talk about it in detail. I'm sure there's more rules related to that, but let's hear me out. Now, it's not like you steal a paper clip or a pen and you got to get your hands cut. There's a threshold that if you steal a certain amount of money and so on, let's say you do that, that is considered a major sin. Of course, in this case, a punishment has been mentioned. So of course, this is considered a major sin. Let's say you steal something under that threshold where your hands don't get cut off. It is still a sin, but that will be considered a minor sin. So you can think about it like that, but you know what? The mindset that I want you to have is, again, we get it. You do a major sin, or you stay away from major sin. Let's set our priorities straight. Yes, we need to worry about every single action, but let's worry about the major ones. Number one, for the youth in our time, having these relationships with non-related women. Stay away from those, okay? You never know what you can get into. Same thing with being in places where alcohol is being served and so on. Who knows? If you're around it, you could end up drinking it too. Gambling and all the other 7 deadly sins that we talked about. Stay away from those. Inshallah, Allah will forgive all the minor ones. But even minor sins are still sins. Yes, we need to get our priorities straight. And let's not worry about, oh, you know what? I'm only going to worry about the major ones. Let's say you skip your prayer. There's a punishment for that as well. So all those 5 pillars that we have talked about, you are skipping on those just because you're lazy. That is also considered a major sin. So now anything else, whatever is left, is minor, but don't even think of minor as really minor. Because your mindset should be not, oh, this is minor sin, but look at the greatness of the one who you are disobeying. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is great. You're still disobeying him by doing these minor sins. So let's stay away from minor sins as well. And if minor sin ends up, you keep on doing it over and over again, it actually becomes major because it shows that you don't have any fear of Allah in your heart, right? So don't overdo it too. Yes, you do it here and there. Oops, sorry, astaghfirullah, Allah forgive me, and let's move on. Do tawbah, repent, and make sure you don't do it again. Same thing make sure you try your best to stay away from the major sins. Make sure you do those things that you have to do, such as those 5 pillars we talked about. Minor, stay away from them, but if you end up getting into it, stop doing what you're doing, whatever that minor sin was, and ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for forgiveness. So in future, we will be talking about forgiveness. Of course, that makes it, okay, I commit major sin. And by the way, some of the major sins, for example, doing shirk, actually takes you out of Islam, right? Like if you're really believing that, you know what, I always believed in Allah, but I need to create some partner just so I can get closer to him, then you have committed a major sin. So not just, of course, you have committed a major sin, but a sin that actually nullifies Islam. But not all major sins or minor sins take you out of Islam. Just know that. But there are only few, the ones that, the shirk, of course, being one of them, takes you out of Islam. But other major sins, such as you kill an innocent people, does not take you out of Islam. You're still a Muslim, just you have been downgraded to a not such a good Muslim, right? A bad Muslim, call it, but you're still a believer. So we're always going to be committing mistakes. So let's stay strong. Make sure we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that he keeps us away from all major and minor sins and gives us that strength so we do more out of his fear, out of his love, and hoping for his reward. And that is what a true iman is. That is a true belief is. Stay a strong believer. This is Malik Bhai. Inshallah, next video, I'm really want to compile some good information talking about forgiveness. Okay, yes, we committed sins now. How do we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for forgiveness? May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive us. Stay strong, inshallah. We'll see you next time. This is Malik Bhai. Assalamu alaikum.